Right. Good evening, everyone. This is Charles with the Exodus Logistics Learning Center. Today is Friday, uh, June 28th, 2024. This is our Friday edition of our freight broker training. Um, Tuesday, we went over a little bit of workflow. I don't know if Joshua, I don't know if you were here. I know LaDonna was here. We got other people coming in, but I always like to start, on time. Um, Joshua, were you here? Can you unmute yourself and answer that question if you don't mind?
No, sir. This is my first time.
This is your very first time in a Zoom training.
Yes, sir.
Are you a student or guest?
No, I'm a broker.
You are one of our students.
No, I'm not one of your students. No.
Okay, so you come in as a guest in one of our trainings.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me change this up a little bit then. Just a little bit. You are a broker.
Yes, sir.
How long have your authority been active?
About 5 months.
Okay. Do you mind if I look your authority up?
Yeah, no problem. Hold on, let me pull my number up.
Or you can just give me the name of it.
Romad Logistics, LLC.
Spell the first name, please.
ROMAD. Romad.
Romad Logistics
Yes, sir.
LLC. Clarksville,
Yes.
Tennessee.
That's me.
Amazing. We have a live broker tonight. um, okay. Interstate and you broker. Okay, you list when you got your authority, you list you household goods?
Yeah.
Okay. And also, so you're a broker of property.
So I deal mainly with flatbeds. That's mostly what I'm working on right now, but I have reefer and I'm talking to a couple for household goods and like dry van stuff.
So your broker authority status is authorized for property, for freight broker. So there's two types of brokers: broker of property, except household goods, and then broker of household goods. So when you did your OP1 form, you selected broker of property, except household good, apparently, according to the Safer site here.
Okay.
So if you try to do household goods brokering, you're not going to be able to because you're not authorized. That's why
Okay.
when I saw that, I was like, wait a minute. He's household goods. So I went back up to your operating authority status, which is right here.
Gotcha.
Because you got to have extra insurance involved in that. You're going in people's homes. You got to have there's risk of damage to property, damage to yourself, damage to the workers, things like that. So uh
I just didn't understand what you were asking there. No problem.
no
Yeah.
problem, no problem. So
Yep.
when you were filling out your OP1 form on the FMCSA's website, uh,
Mm.
it told you to select the different cargoes that you're going to be dealing with or arranging for the transportation of as a freight broker,
Yes.
right? And these are the ones that you selected. So
Yes.
oil fields, equipment, brokering, gonna be doing. So lumber, poles, beams, logs, that's flatbeds, building materials, flatbed, large machinery, flatbed. Of course, general
Mm.
freight can be dry van or flatbed. Metals, coil sheets can be mainly flatbeds. Paper products, let's see, grain, hay, feed, flatbed. Paper products, dry van or flat, depends. Construction, flat. So, okay. So you're mainly, it seems like your niche is in the flatbed space.
Absolutely.
Okay. Um, and do you have any customers that you are brokering for currently?
I do not. No.
Okay. How are you targeting customers?
So I have a e-carrier check and I generate lists off e-carrier check and I'm cold calling and emailing.
Okay, I have e-carrier check and I know Jared Ross and Nate Marquez
He's
personally.
great. They're great. He
Yeah,
helps me a lot.
yeah. Jared used to broker. I'm not sure why he stopped, but I guess he jumped on this software and this is his baby, so he's dealing with that. I thought, at least I thought I had e-carrier check. I thought I still had a login, but I'm paying them $119 a month, so hopefully I'll still have a login. Um, log into their dashboard and just to see. This takes forever to come up. I don't know what's going on. I have to call Nate. Matter of fact, uh, I got Nate's number on the phone just to make sure. Nate, why am I not being able to log? Why is this thing spinning? And then Trevor is he's part of the development team. So let's see. Nate at eCarrier check. Hopefully they'll pick up. They usually come on my trainings and do their trainings as well. Do you attend their Wednesday lives and
Do I do?
okay.
And I speak with Jared probably every couple weeks on LinkedIn. He kind of he's walking me through. So I was a mechanic. I've been a diesel mechanic my whole
Right.
life and just swapped over to broker recently within the last 5 months.
So what made you that's a career shift, if you will. What got you into transportation? You said you were a mechanic. Okay, a diesel mechanic or regular?
Diesel mechanic, a
Okay.
certified Mac and Volvo, and I worked at a Volvo dealership in Nashville, Tennessee. I was engines and transmissions. That was my thing. Anytime you needed an engine or transmission in Nashville, I was your guy.
Okay. Okay.
So I have a best friend that is a driver that's telling me probably about a year ago he's breaking down a load where he felt like he got cheated from a broker. And he's telling me, dude, we don't have anybody really good in the game that I know of. We need somebody in the game that's honest. And you would be great at this.
Yeah.
You would be great at this.
Yeah, that's a
And
yeah.
that started getting brought up in conversations more and more by drivers over the next couple months. And I went in to a local community college and got the training packet and took it, passed it, and now here I am.
So you got your broker training from a community college.
Yes, sir.
Was the instructor a broker?
Yes.
You said yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So he showed you the steps of applying for he or she, I should say. I don't know if it's male or
Well,
female.
mine was online, so it was mostly self-taught. I mean, he had lectures. It was a husband and wife combo. I believe their last name was Roach. I can't remember off the
Okay.
top of my head, but they would do like video lectures, and it was kind of self-taught, self-paced.
Okay. And so you took their curriculum, you passed their exam according to what they taught, and then you got I guess a certificate from their course, and then enough to have the knowledge to apply for your own authority with the FMCSA. You got your bond, UCR, BOC3. You got all that stuff up. Obviously, it worked because you got an active broker authority. So, right.
And Jared had a lot to do with this as well. I was working with him behind the scenes as well.
Okay, yeah, because Jared used to broker. Uh,
Yep.
I forget what niche he was in. I think he was in heavy equipment, I believe. But yeah. So okay, so now are you mainly using e-carrier check to source customers and to source carriers? Or are you using low boards or anything else or
So I have a DAT subscription, but that usually I just use that basically for like my quotes. I use it to kind of gauge my quotes when I'm calling carriers. I have a pretty good carrier base right here around me that want to work with me that I've been working on these people's truck for the last 5, 6 years. So carriers isn't the problem. It's loads right now. And I'm just working my way through the process right now, just trying to get better.
well, let me give you some advice because I mean I have a broker partner that we're partnering with. We've been doing it for 2 years, but so carriers will they're not the problem most of the time. It's usually like you're right. The loads, getting good paying loads from customers that will give you enough wiggle room in the load tenders to be able to pay carriers what they're worth is the problem. So being able to negotiate when you get to a customer or shipper and they're telling you to give you a lane bid or a rate quote so that you can get a high enough load tender. Like for example, if you talk to a shipper and they got let's say they got 10 loads or 10 shipments a week or 20 shipments a week going from point A to point B, Tennessee to Atlanta, and the shipper is paying $3,000 for that lane. Whatever that distance mile is, let's say it's 600 miles, $3,000. Not bad, right? Off the top.
That's pretty good.
Then you ask yourself, well, as a broker, what's my margin? What am I looking to make? What is it, 15%? By the way, what is yours? If you were to get a tender, what would you take off the top as a broker? You take 15%, 20%? What's a
So
fair?
I've come up with like a cost plus pricing scale. So I do it by percentages based off like $100 load is at like 18%, 1,000 to 2,000 is at 15%, and so on and so forth. Up to 5,000, I believe it's 8%. I'm looking anywhere between $180 to $240 a load profit if I can get it priced at that.
Okay, that sounds good. So you have a pricing matrix. So it seems like the higher the tender amount from the shipper, the lower your percentage off of that going to be.
Absolutely.
Right. So you kind of in proportion to whatever they're paying. So let's share my screen with the which is a good way to do it. Now some brokers will do that way, kind of be fair. Others will just have a set value, irregardless of the value of the tender from the customer. So now, if you were to get a shipper, have you? So you send out information to shippers, but have you gotten any hits back saying, "Hey," or can we need a quote? Can you quote our lane or things like that? Have you had any hits?
I've sent probably 5 or 6 companies quotes. I just had one. I got crushed this week. I sent some quotes off, uh, reached back out to them, talked to the shipping manager. I was $125 cheaper than their current carriers. And she told me on the phone that she took that to her current providers and they decided to match it. And that's why so
Oh,
that kind of took that,
those kinds suck. Ouch.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, okay. So they said, okay, yeah, we got somebody, but we're gonna match what dirty dogs.
I took a win out of it though. At least my price was competitive.
It was because you based your price off of. So when you get that information, what do you normally do? You'll say, okay, what's your lane? Because when you're trying to quote for shippers to try to win those tenders, to get them sending you tenders and stuff to be responsible for moving the freight, you're competing with the current market, right? What the lane is normally running for that equipment, for the lane, the weight, and all these other details you're asking for. And then I'm assuming you're going into your load board resource to kind of get competitive rates, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
To
And I
see
have 3 carriers, 3 companies that are very close with me that I will call those 3 and have them give me quotes over the phone.
that's the best way to do it. If you got somebody
Yep.
specifically, if you got a shipper for, they'll say, give me a flatbed quote for this lane out of Tennessee going down to Alabama, and
Mhm.
carriers who drive those equipment types who can give you a realistic and not nothing that's crazy, crappy, but something that's real, then that's the best starting point from a real carrier as a and then go to your low board, compare those numbers, maybe even take the average, and then go from there. And that's your starting point. And then you put your margin on top of that, right? Based off of the number
Absolutely.
and then
Yeah.
return that value. So you know what you're doing. You just gotta get the opportunity.
That's it. That's it.
Now, let's say, for example, I'm a shipper. I give you the opportunity. Now, what's my
Mhm.
next move? Now, you have all your paperwork. Obviously, you have all your paperwork in order, your documents, your broker shipper
Yes,
agreement,
yes, yes. My
carrier,
packets.
your package. You have all those on both sides because you got two customers, right? You got your shippers customers and you have your carrier customers, right? Your contract.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you have all that.
Yep.
Are you working with factoring?
I do have factoring. It's with Seven Oaks.
Oh yeah, Monica, my girl.
Yep, Monica. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. How'd you so did Jared or Nate refer you to come on this to listen?
Jared. So no, I was on LinkedIn today and I was kind of done with my calls and they didn't really hit today. So I was just on LinkedIn kind of scrolling around and I typed in freight broker groups on LinkedIn and
Uh-huh.
your page popped up and I saw this training tonight. And I remember seeing you in the comment section on one of Jared and Nate's streams that they did. And I was like, I'm just gonna check it out. I got time.
Oh yeah, I go in there all the time. Me, Tire Killer, who else be in there?
Absolutely.
Yeah, 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 we in there all the time. And every time I comment, hey, there's Charles Max. You guys go over there. He's the best trainer, blah blah blah. But yeah, okay. So So if I was a shipper and say, okay, I need you to run a load now. So you actually have to now get the experience of actually doing it. You have Seven Oaks with Monica. Monica's wonderful. Do you have a TMS system?
Dan Deegan's system with Bridger.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
I don't
Hopefully
know
that,
if you're familiar or not.
yes, of course. Hopefully
Yep.
that the overhead is not too, because if you don't have any customers yet, the advice I normally give um new brokers is to keep your overhead as low as possible.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I'm trying. I'm
Right.
about 700 a month right now.
Okay. Wow, that's not bad.
No.
for for someone who doesn't have any customers yet. Well, floating seven. So over time, it's gonna start to, if you got a nest egg, it's gonna eat into that for a minute until you get your first customer. You may have to take away maybe, let's say, the least important resource you may need. The TMS system you may not need, because I used to broker without a TMS system starting out until I started building up revenue. I just used a simple spreadsheet. We used to do paper tenders and
Mhm.
fax and forward and email stuff back and forth between customers and stuff like that. But I'm not suggesting you do that. I'm just saying if the idea if it starts the numbers start to get into a crunch, what to consider.
Absolutely.
What version of DAT do you have? You got like DAT Express, DAT Edge Power.
I have the whatever the cheapest one is, like the 159 or 169
Okay,
program.
I think that's Express. DAT
I
Express.
can look up loads, I can see what rates are going, and that's
Is
pretty much what I use it for.
it a real time look, or is it something like delayed after so many minutes, or
No, it updates. It updates like every 5 or 6 minutes. I've seen it update.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, so you seem to have your back end system in place. It's just like you just need a now you said LinkedIn. Do you have Sales Navigator in your LinkedIn?
I do not.
Okay, let me show you what that is. And I'm looking at why is what's going on with I don't know what's going on with my e-carrier check, but I had to give.
I love eCarrier Check, by the way. I think they've really done a great job with that program. I've used like Apollo IO, and I really like how eCarrier Check makes it a lot easier to
Yeah,
navigate.
yeah. Oh my God, Apollo
Yeah,
IO. Don't get me
yeah.
started. Um, but yeah. So IO, you get into like almost like AI technology, trying to do advanced stuff. But e-carrier check is like a sourcing tool. They're pulling their data from the main, like FMCSA and all the main transportation points through API, and then they put it into a centralized user experience, and then they're making the front end look good for the customer, like us. And we'll see they've actually changed their user experience. The front end is a lot more colorful, and you can navigate it a little bit easier, things like that. So I love it too. So um, LinkedIn now I have a LinkedIn premium account too, actually.
Right.
When you log in, I'm going to log in to the other one, this one, Sales Navigator. If you purchase the Sales Navigator feature of LinkedIn, let me share my screen because I think I still got up the whiteboard. Okay, make sure I put the sound on.
Okay, I see it.
There you go. So now in here, this is the premium right here. Premium, that's me, blah, 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 right? So um, I purchased the $900 for the year Sales Navigator feature of LinkedIn.
Okay.
So when you click, and I got some hits in here now because I put in some filters and created some hits for shippers and leads and accounts and things like that. So let me go here and look at I'm just being nosy now. Um,
All
so
right.
that's you, Joshua Haskins. Okay. So over here, Sales Navigator is as an added feature for LinkedIn. It's going to go to a separate tab and open up and get you to the Sales Navigator page. Okay. This is Sales Navigator. See, right here,
Okay.
Navigator. You got home, you got accounts, you got leads, messaging, things like that. I've created different stuff. I can save them. Different. You can look up companies in real time today to see who their people are. You can drill down very specifically based off of niche, based off of commodity, based off of everything. I'm not going to go through this right now. I may have to create a sales navigator because I'm still learning it myself. So I want to get to a point where I'm comfortable, where I know it enough where I can easily show people where it's so simple to navigate through, right? And I'm not saying it's hard, it just takes a lot of steps, that's all. Um, but it's an added feature where it pulls data in real time for companies, for manufacturers, based off of the filter you may have put in there for. So let's say leads, right? We're looking for, and I have several lead lists that I've created. Some of them are system generated. The other ones I've created for, like, this is my brokerage Ping Freight.
Mm-hmm.
But we have leads in here and we've created these leads. You can create new leads, create a lead list. So let's create a lead list, give it a list name. Let's say Joshua leads
Okay.
and list of manufacturer, or we'll say list of shippers. We'll say shippers or manufacturers. Because when you're looking up shippers, you don't look up by shippers. I would look up more like by manufacturer. That's more of a more specific name for the lead, the company.
Yeah. Yeah.
So list of shippers, right? So we'll create it. Right now we got Joshua leads, right? So let's go into that Joshua leads. Now we're going to search for leads, right? So search for leads, and now it takes you to this page here.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can drill down in these filters to make your lead search very specific. So as I put information in the filters, the results are going to appear here, and the number of things is going to show. So, for example, current company. You can put current companies here. If you know some names of companies, you can put them there. But I'm going to leave that blank because I don't want to look up a specific company. I want a list of companies I
Companies.
can
Yeah.
call or reach out to or do an email campaign from. Now, LinkedIn has what's called InMail, where you can link, that's their version, that's their mail server within the LinkedIn ecosystem between LinkedIn accounts. It's called InMail. Um, Company headcount, you could do a list for companies based off of how many employees they got, right? You want to look for small companies. You see what I'm saying? So you don't want to look for the big, small mom and pops, uh, things of that nature, right? So you can select ones. You can select multiple ones. You can say 11 to 50. You can say 51. And then if you don't want it, you can hit X and take it out, right? You can
Mm-hmm.
add it. So let's just say that. We'll just put a few in here, okay? Uh, and then that right there. So, and then minimize that. Any past company types, right? Are they public? Are they private, nonprofit, educational, self-employed? So you would have to decide, is it a government? Do you want to go after the government sector? Things of that nature to look for a certain. So the point of this is just to show you that this is an added feature that you may want to consider since do you have a LinkedIn premium account or do you
I
have
do.
okay. It's something you could consider adding to your, well, you may not now because you got the budget, your budget may not be for it, but so
Oh,
if you,
definitely in the future though.
right. So you notice, let me X out this a little bit. Let me show you something real quick. You notice over here on the right, it was blank. When I
Mm-hmm.
select thing, it's going to fill in. Okay, I got 11 company head count. So I'm going to give you all companies that have between 11 and 50 employees, right? So now it's going to pop up with 62 million results. 62 million.
Mm-hmm.
Or the more information you put in there, the more specific you get in the filters, the smaller the results going to become, right? So they're right now, see, you got all types of companies. 62 million, that's all types of company, business owners, because we haven't really got specific yet. So let's go down and get a little bit specific so I can show you what that means here. Functions, what are the role in the company? Let's see. You're not looking for operations. You're looking for, let's say,
Logistics, shipping.
correct. So let's see if they had anything in here, logistics, shipping related, manufacturing, production, management, purchasing, quality assurance. You got those are the options. So of those options, the best one that's close to us would be what? What would you think? Let's see, purchasing, because you got to get products out. Purchasing is a link in the what's called the supply chain. You have to purchase, right? So I can put purchasing there.
Yeah.
And
Maybe sales. Do they
sales.
have some?
Let's go to sales and then right here. And then let's go. So we got sales, purchase. So we got sales and purchasing so far. So we're all over the country still. We haven't narrowed it down to a specific region in the country yet. We're just getting because we haven't went down the filters yet. So I'm just showing you in this lead list. What else? Human resources, man. And the thing I want to question LinkedIn Sales Navigator about is, can we add a function? Like, can we add uh manufacturing? And that doesn't seem like you can, right? Can we add logistics? Can you add shipping? Right. So hold on, this is Nate. Hey Nate. Nate. He's fine.
What's going on, man? Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm curious to know why I cannot log into my account at eCarrier Check. It's just keeps spinning.
It keeps spinning. Okay, let me look. Let me see if I can get on to my computer at home and check it out.
Okay, no problem.
And then if not, let me text one of my programmers and see if they can check it out for you.
Yeah, Trevor's still with you guys?
Yeah, he's still with us. He's on vacation, but we got another guy. We got another developer too. I was gonna text.
Okay, I got Joshua Haskin on my training right now. He's giving the eCarrier Check praise. You probably know who he is, right?
Oh yeah, I know.
Okay,
That's
yeah.
awesome, man.
Say hi, Josh.
Well, what's up, Nate?
Hey, Josh, appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir.
He's on.
Love it, man.
We're going over
I
some.
love it.
Yeah, we're going over. So this is networking back and forth. So when you
That's awesome, man.
when you do good things happen, right? So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
all right.
Let me look into that for you, and I'll give you a text. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Talk later.
So all right. So the proof that I know these guys, right? So
Absolutely.
all right. So we're gonna say sales and purchasing right now, right? Product management, maybe, I don't know, but just for right now, just to move on in the process. Okay. Job title, you can look up job title. You can if you know the titles, it's usually going to be somebody like a manager or something like that, shipping manager, a manufacturer, or director, senior level. I'm going to take that out. Director, you can change that. I'm just going to fly through here a little bit so I can get some results here. Right now, I went from 62 million to 5 million. Years in the company, current position. Okay, so now geographical location. So let's go in your area, or let's say North America, include North America. And that's it, because we got worldwide stuff here. So geographical location. Industry. This is key. You can choose your industry, right? Transportation, equipment, right? Possible. So now you're noticing the list is getting smaller. It went from 5 million to 110,000 results, right? That's the point with Sales Navigator. It's a real-time search tool where you can look up very specific. Now, every individual in here that is giving you the results, they all have LinkedIn accounts. That's the point. You have to have a LinkedIn account to be able to be filtered in this result set. Okay. And you can look up all this other stuff. Let's go back up to the second portion of the column here and all this information as well. So you can play with the list here back and forth like I do and go from there. And then once you get your result set, whatever it is, you can decide how you want to communicate with them. Over here on the right, you can either save it into your new list that you created, your leads that you created. You can connect with them. You can view their profile and see their information, their history, or whatever, of one that you're interested in. So those are some of the features that the Sales Navigator of LinkedIn provides for you, right? It's just another tool that you can add to your arsenal as a broker where you can look up potential customers, right? But now let me ask you a question. Let's X over here a little bit. Let me ask you a question, Joshua. When you find a customer, what's that like on a cold call? What's that conversation like?
So when I get somebody to engage with me, I'm trying to baby step the conversation along. I really want to ask a question and then shut up and let them talk. So I get on the phone and get to the person I need to speak with. And I'll ask a question like, when was the last time you onboarded a new broker? If I know they've worked with brokers or know they're working with brokers, and I'll let them talk. One of the big things I'm hearing right now from shipping managers is double broker concerns. So that's a big one that I've been trying to hit and get business from. I have one that I might be getting on Monday. I'm staying
What is
positive for.
what is your understanding of what double brokering is, in your opinion? What do you think?
So it's when someone gets a load from a shipper and then transfers that load to somebody else.
Okay, that someone being a carrier.
Yes.
Okay, so great. I'm glad you said that. So, um, so let's share that again. That is a big issue because how can you track? Now, this may help you in the long run. How are you able to track or understand that a load may have been double brokered, right? That's a good question. You got to follow the documentation, right? The original paperwork, whose name is on the paperwork, and then in the beginning part of the shipment, and then at the ending part of the shipment, when it's time to get paid after it gets delivered to the consignee, to the receiver, whose name is on the paperwork there, and is there a consistency there, right? That's a red flag right there. If I get a I'm a broker, right? And I brokered a load to, let's say your brokerage or my brokerage, brokered a load to a carrier, right? Okay. And let's do double brokering. All right, double brokering. I brokered the load to a carrier. So we know me and that carrier have a relationship, right? You have a broker carrier agreement, the contract. You know who the driver is because you got that information, especially when you're going to do check calls and things like that to see how far they are in the transition of that load from consignor to consignee, shipper to receiver, right? This carrier is an asset-based carrier. Let's say they have 20 assets. They took your load because it was a good paying load, but unbeknownst to you, they didn't have capacity at the time to move the load because all of their 20 trucks were already covered, but they still took your load, but you didn't know that. You just an honest broker saying, hey, I'm gonna give you my load. You got 20 trucks. You apparently you got capacity, and they they went so far to even give you one of the names of their drivers of the 20 trucks, first and last name, truck and trailer number, yada, 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 right? So you can put in your system so you can do check calls, whatever, macro point, whatever, right? So this carrier, so when you did the broker carrier agreement, you guys did a contract, right? Broker carrier agreement and rate con. Here we go. Here's the key. The rate con. What's on the rate con? What's on the rate confirmation that if the rate confirmation officially books the load? You can say rate confirmation or load confirmation. Sometimes it's called load confirmation, right? So, but on there is data that gives away who the two parties are legally involved in this shipment, correct?
Yes.
So the carrier information's on there. What else is on there? The load number or the shipment number, the BOL number or pickup number or whatever you want to call it, right? Pickup number,
Invoice.
yeah, any identifying thing on the rate con is on that documentation that was signed by you, the broker, and the carrier, sent back to you, the broker, so you have in your possession, right?
Yep.
Ideally, the carrier is supposed to go, the driver of that carrier, it could be an owner operator, it could be themselves, or it could be one of their drivers that's working for them, goes to the consignor, the shipper, and they get, based off of the information from the Raycon, they get what's called a BOL, correct?
Yes.
A bill of lading, which also contains similar data because you have to make sure everything checks out, right? You have to make sure that the pickup number, the date, if it's a first come, first serve, or if it's an appointed load or whatever the appointment time, What else? The BOL number, pickup number, order number, whatever, all these numbers, right? So how can double brokering happen? How can double brokering, here's my question. How can double brokering get past the initial broker by an initial carrier to another carrier if the data is supposed to be consistent?
It's a good question.
You see what I'm saying? That's so there's
Yeah.
the because the documentation has to match at the end of that shipment. The initial from the rate con number one to the BOL at the shipper number two to the POD at the receiver number three. The data is supposed to match, does it not?
Yeah.
How can we? Where's double booking at? Why is? I don't know. Now it could be duplicated, like the carrier may have a system where they can duplicate the data and then falsify information, right? Possibly, but the data
Yeah,
has
I
to
don't think that's what's going on.
say again.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what's going on. I think it's even simpler than that. I think a carrier is getting it, can't handle the capacity, like you said, has a buddy that can carry it. He gives it to his buddy with the paperwork and they show up. And then the paperwork's off.
Right. So I'm glad you said that. So when his buddy shows up at the shipper should have something to identify that the person who's supposed to pick this up is actually the person that's in front of them right there at the gate. So therein may lie the disconnect. Because once you get past the security people, now you're in there, you go to your loading dock, you dock the trailer, they load you up, sign the paperwork and go. So it could be, the disconnect could be there at the initial check-in security gate. It could be at the loading dock with the shipper, the logistics manager inside loading the trailer and with the paperwork. But somewhere right there is the disconnect. So let's say either one of those scenarios is where the disconnect is located, and the secondary carrier gets loaded. They get away with it. Now they're moving it to the receiver for delivery. They get to the receiver for delivery. They got the same original paperwork, but it's not the right driver of the original on the rate confirmation. The original driver on this is a second driver. So now, how is it on the back end? How is it a disconnect? Because you got a different driver going to the consignee for delivery. It just baffles me how easy.
I don't understand how it's happening either.
How easy, because if we just think about it, there should be no way for double brokering to happen unless people are overlooking it, just turning their heads. There should, because you have to follow the trail. You have to follow the paperwork from the rate confirmation from the original broker or the only broker. Now, there's a difference between double brokering and, I don't know if you've heard this term before, but co-brokering, right? So there's a difference between that. Co-brokering is two brokers working a shipment. Okay, co-brokering. Double brokering is where two carriers are involved on the same brokered load. Okay, so that's the main difference. But there's a disconnect right there. So
Yeah.
and so the reason why I'm saying this to you is so that you can be aware and look out for this. I don't know if you're gonna. Well, hopefully you don't have an experience where you have to deal with double brokering, because now you may be sending the monies to the wrong carrier, to the wrong person. And let's say they sent you, let's say the second carrier got the POD signed, right? So now who gets paid in that situation? You see what I'm saying? Who's gonna get
How does
paid?
factor and how do I figure that out? That could mess everything up.
Right. And then where's factory involved at? What's Monica gonna do?
Yeah.
Right. So Monica comes in at when you're the broker, let them know that you got a load, you about to factor this load with this carrier, and to make sure that the carrier is approved for your factoring company right there. So they're looking to pay this carrier. They're not looking to, they don't even know who the second carrier is. So when a POD gets turned in by you, the broker for factory, and it doesn't match what Monica has, that's their safety net. It's going to hit a firewall, if you will, right there. So they got their safety net in place for factoring, but it's a trip. So
It's wild. I've been asked probably 10 times this week on calls, at least 10 times about double brokering. And that's their concern with working with a broker. And I love it because my specific situation, every truck that I'm going to put on a load, I have physically had my hands on those trucks.
There
So
you
I
go.
know, you know what I mean? So I can kind of ease concerns with that. But you just broke this down, and I haven't really thought of it this far,
And
honestly.
the reason being is you got to the easy way to combat double brokering is to follow the documents, follow the paperwork. Who's and put your when you design your rate confirmation, I think this should be told to all brokers, especially newer brokers. When you design your paperwork and giving it to the carrier, put things on there that will be an indicator that this may be a double broker load because you initially brokered it to this person, right? You'll say, okay, like for example, where's the starting point uh in the original process between the broker and the carrier, right? So let's do it again. Let's do it one more time. I know people want to. I got other people coming in. They're seeing this. We're trying to identify a little bit about double brokering, right? So the process is, as a broker, when you post a load or you got a shipment from your customer, and you already have a network of carriers, so you go to them directly, or you post it on a load board, so you double your chances of getting a hit, right? So you just say, okay, I'm the broker and I got a carrier on a particular shipment or load, right? The carrier, asset base, however many trucks, 10, 20, whatever, right? On my rate con, when I send out the first documentation, which is the rate con, RC, rate confirmation, I need to have things on there that show that I know it's this original carrier company. Okay, it's their MC, that's another thing. The carrier's MC directly with them. If you're dealing with a different carrier, it's a different MC, right? So,
Yeah.
but the second carrier is not a fool. They're not going to put their MC down on the POD to get paid and tell. They're going to tell on themselves, right? That'd be foolish on their part, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm teaching other carriers how to be criminal, right? But no, I'm just saying, right? They wouldn't do that. That'd be stupid, beyond stupid, right? But so you need the original carrier's MC. You need of course, MC DOT. You look them up, make sure you verify that, right? The driver or a driver in the carrier's company, driver's first and last name, cell number, truck and trailer number, right? You get those things for a check call purposes as well, right? All that information, and then you produce through your software, your TMS, the BOL or the pickup information, the load number, pickup number, BOL number. As a matter of fact, the BOL number should match the BOL once the driver gets to the consignor, to the shipper, right? And then there should be something else to kind of verify, either unbeknownst to the carrier or beknownst to them. They should either know or not know to kind of combat double brokering as an indicator of double brokering or not. That there should be something on there like a checkbox or something else to identify that this is the original information on the original rate con that should be consistent through the transit process of this shipment, right? So now the carrier signs the rate confirmation. You already sent it to them pre-signed as a broker. You already signed your portion of the rate con, and then any other special instructions, accessorials, all the other stuff that you put on the rate con, right? Yeah. And then now they get dispatched, right, to you, the broker, dispatch them to the shipper to pick the load up, whether it's a point in time, first come, first serve, whatever, right? They get to the consignee, or I'm sorry, the consignor, the shipper, we call it, consignor, shipper, what have you, whatever you want to call them. And now, what do they receive here? The carrier is going to get loaded, and they're going to get their paperwork. It should already be there at the shipper to give to them, but the BOL, the bill of lading, another name for that is title to the goods. That is the carriers taking possession of the freight, right? That's title to the goods. has all the data in there, commodity, pallet count, piece count, and it should have this information consistent on the BOL, right?
Yeah.
And then the the shipping manager should be able to sign and verify that. That could be the first level of a red flag if it's not consistent at the shipper, right? Because this may say a secondary carrier could come there and have information that's different than this, and the shipper is comparing it to what they have in front of them before they load the trailer, and say, wait a minute, I'm loading for truck number ABC 123. This is truck number XYZ 789. Who are you? You know what I'm saying? So there needs to be some kind of check, at the origin of picking up the shipment and at the destination to make sure everything is consistent. In my opinion, that's how you could avoid double brokering, right? Because two carriers can't broker the same load. Shouldn't happen. They should be, one carrier should be responsible for transporting this freight and getting paid for transporting it. So the first carrier who brokered it to the second carrier is trying to make money, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you gave the load to the first carrier for 3,000. Okay, they don't have trucks. Their capacities, they're all covered, right?
Mm-hmm.
They got a partner though who has a trucking company who has 5 trucks, and one is available. So he gives it to him. He say, man, move this load. I'll give you 2,500 for it. Okay, 2,500. Right now, does he give him the original rate con from that, which contains a totally different driver's name on it? How does that work? That's the mystery. How does it work? How can possibly double brokering get off on these shippers and receivers and brokers on the back end, because you got to turn in your POD to get paid after you do the delivery. You got to do, because a BOL turns into a POD once that trailer is offloaded. So, and everything's signed for.
I think it's a combination of a few things. I think it's people not doing their jobs properly, whether it's on purpose or just not knowing. And I think it's people just scrambling right now with how the market is, trying to get whatever they can get.
I think it's adding the rate confirmation. You can edit rate, just apps.
Right. So say it again. That's Tasha, right?
On the board, and then once they get their payment from their factoring company, then they pay out the carrier for the load that they got. You know what I mean?
So where is the Tasha? That's Tasha, right? All Star.
Yes.
Okay. So you're the original broker. You produced the rate con for the original carrier who's supposed to take the load before they decided to double broker it. Because here's what the problem is right here. This first carrier, they're the ones who's doing the double brokering, giving it to another carrier. You got all the first carriers, their driver's information on your rate con, the driver, sale number, truck and trailer number, the load number, and everything like that. So when they decide to give it to a second carrier before they even get to the shipper, you're saying they've changed information at that point. You say yes?
Yes.
Okay. So my question is, what did they change? Because the shipper needs to see at the shipping facility when they give them the BOL, the information on the original rate con needs to match what's on the BOL. Otherwise, if I'm a shipper, I'm not loading any trailers. If the paperwork.
Well, I think you can change like your logo. Like there's a way to do it. I know that Google Docs, you can upload a Raycon there. You can like edit things.
Right, so are you changing the driver's information? So the shipper needs to double check there. Are you the driver for this company according to the BOL? Because the BOL sent the data over from the Raycon, which was the contract between the original carrier and the broker. So on the BOL, maybe it should have the original driver of the original carrier company. And if it's not, then I'm not loading you. There's a problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
That could be.
I don't know. I mean, I had a load the other day because I think Landstar is a lot. They do a lot of double brokering, but I had a load for my driver picking up a Landstar load, and the girl was very like on me about making sure the driver wasn't there because he had an appointment the next day. And then on the Raycon, it was like, make sure you tell the facility that you're a Landstar driver. And she did tracking, and then she realized that my driver was on the site early, and she kept calling me like, he needs to leave, he needs to leave. There's an appointment for tomorrow, blah, blah. So I told him, but then the facility ended up unloading him that same day he was there. And then once I sent the BOL, she was like, oh, thank you. Like, she didn't fight me after the fact that she got the BOL, but she kept constantly calling me all day, literally checking in and making sure that he wasn't, I don't know, it was just weird. But I mean, it got delivered and everything was fine. The POD was signed off, but like, it was just weird. Like,
So
once I,
it seems like there could be a lot of problems because factoring companies may take BOLs if it shows that it's signed by the receiver, even though it could be potentially wrong information on there, right? From another carrier or from doctored information. So there seems like there needs to be checks at every point in the transition process, in the shipment process, right? In my opinion, it just makes sense that everything needs to match in the whole transition of this one shipment, right? There needs to be a standard to combat double book. And I'm surprised no one has come out with this yet. This is crazy.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was just aware that the Raycon was like, make sure you say you're a Landstar driver. It's like, how can I say I'm a Landstar driver when like clearly the company name of my company is on my
They're
truck?
telling you to lie. They're telling you to lie.
Right. So that's why I was like, is this a double broker load? Because like, but I really didn't say anything about it to her, but like,
That's
whatever.
clearly a double brokered load, right? I would think. If they're telling you to be someone who you're not, and you got logos on your truck and trailer of a different company, you're not Landstar. They may say you're running.
Right.
Okay, you're running under Landstar. You're leased on a
Right.
Landstar. You're an owner operator leased on a Landstar, but you're not an owner operator leased on a Landstar.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't like say it to me verbally. She just, the Raycon said that, so I don't know. It was just like, hey, but she kept calling me, and I'm like, listen, ma'am, I told my driver there's not much I can control when I'm not at the receiver. Like, I told him he can't be on site, but I will let him know. And then she's like, oh, okay. She stopped calling me, but like, there's nothing I can do. Like, I can blow him up a million times. Doesn't mean he's gonna listen to me. And I know that carriers have their ways of talking to receivers and shippers and getting in early and getting delivered. You know what I mean? Like they do their work on their side. So like, it's not my fault if the shipment is delivered early. You have to call over to the shipper or the receiver, make sure that they're not going to load or unload at the time they weren't supposed to. Like, that's not my fault.
So here's the example again, right? I just make it a little bit more of trying to see where the disconnect or where the red flag of double brokering again comes in, right? So the original Raycon is the relationship between who? The freight broker and the carrier number one, the original carrier, right? Everybody's clear on that, right? You brokered a load to a carrier. Unbeknownst to you that they have intentions on double brokering it to a second carrier. You don't know that. They're not telling you. If they told you, then I wouldn't broker it to them. Why would I give you a load that I know you're going to double broker, right? So, but so that's so now on the Raycon as a broker, what things can you put in place to kind of put out indicators that this may or may not be a double brokered load? Maybe you should reproduce your rate confirmation with extra things on there to kind of be signs so you'll know, and communicate with the customer at the shipping facility that they need to match the information when the carrier gets there before you load their trailer. The information that you have between you and that contracted carrier, number one, should match what's on the BOL. Does that make sense? That could be a first step.
Yeah.
So in other words, these things need to match the data. Whatever data is being transmitted from the Raycon to the BOL at the shipper before they load that trailer, like the driver, obviously, the company. Who's the carrier company? Their MC. Well, I got a broker carrier agreement with XYZ Transportation. Their driver is John Smith. His cell number is this. His email is that. His truck number is this. His trailer number is that. All that data is on the Raycon. And then, of course, all the different numbers you need, the load number, pickup number, BOL number. That should match here. right? And the shipping manager should get an email from either you, the broker, or your customer, sending it to the person down in the warehouse in the facility saying, hey, make sure that the data or that the driver's information match what we have on our BOL because we received the data from the broker through their Raycon, and this is the person who's picking up this shipment, right? That could be a first step, because now if this carrier decides to double broker it to this carrier, and this carrier gets to the facility and does not provide what the shipper needs to verify the BOL, guess what's going to happen? They're not going to load that. They shouldn't, I should say, load that trailer. Does that make sense? And
It does, but they're probably not changing like the driver's name. I mean, do they really ask, hey, are you Daniel? Are you, I think most of the time they just ask, hey, what's your pickup number, or what's your BOL, or like what's your paperwork?
Well, maybe they should
I don't
now.
know.
Maybe they should now, because it seems that double broking has become such a nationwide problem. Maybe I would start having them look, where's your driver's license at? Let me see your driver's license.
Right.
Something as simple as that. And then go out there and look at the truck and trailer. Okay, your trailer number is 1, your truck number is 2 on the BOL. Okay, 1 and 2. Your name is John Smith. Okay, I don't know who you are, Joe Mitchell. I'm not loading your truck. Or hold on for a minute. Let me go in my office and make a phone call. Hey guys, hey carrier number 1, do you have a Joe Smith in your company? No, who is that? Okay, thank you. Click. We're not loading you. Sorry. And that's a cutoff right there. Number 1. That's cutoff number 1 for double brokering. Let's say they have enough sense or intelligence to get past that stage, right? The shipper stage, for with some kind of trick paperwork or whatever, falsified documents, and they get past the shipper, right? Then they get to now carrier 2 has to load. So carrier 2 tricked the shipper and got the load, right? They got a signed BOL. Now they're on their way to the receiver for delivery, right? We should nip this this should be nipped in the bud at the shipper. It should never get past the shipper whatsoever. Never, right? Because if to avoid double brokering, you follow the paperwork, the documentation. It needs to be consistent. Simple as that. And since it's such a prevalent problem, I would put on the rate confirmation or on the BOL, please check driver's license against paperwork or against what's on the paperwork, right? Maybe you need to add that one extra sentence can stop a whole lot of headaches. Check the driver's license, right? Or something to that effect. Or verify that this driver works for this company. Some kind of verification, whether it's through driver's license or a phone call or whatever, right? But let's say they get past that point and they get to the receiver. Now they're being offloaded. So now that they get to the receiver is checking their portion of because remember, before it's a POD, it's still a BOL because it hasn't been offloaded yet, right? Hasn't been verified and signed. The receiver has not taken possession of the freight, right? So it's still still a BOL. So now they're offloading it. Everything checks out with the freight, pallet count, piece count, and everything. But then when they get to sign it, they're gonna look for, wait a minute. John Smith. I thought John Doe was the driver, right? So now we got an issue. You see? So the reason I'm saying it to you guys as brokers, to avoid the concept of double brokering on your end, so that because somebody's going to be at fault, liability is going to fall on someone. So make sure that you CYA on your side, so you won't have to be accountable either through yourself or let your factoring company take on that headache, right? Because your factory company even is going to be involved, like Joshua said with 7 Oaks. You know, they're going to vet and do their thing because they're protecting their interests. That's what factoring companies do. So should you as a broker protect yours?
Of course.
So just be mindful of to combat double brokering, understand the process of the shipment transfer or the movement of goods, and then understand how to identify, maybe add some clauses or sentences to your rate confirmation. Driver needs to have driver's license at shipper facility to verify that they are part of this carrier company or whatever, right? So that it stops here. right? As opposed to getting past here. Let's say it gets past here and the receiver signs it. Now it's a POD that the second carrier has. So now who gets paid? How do they get paid? Because their driver's name is on the documents. But the factory company doesn't recognize that person's name or doesn't recognize that information. So now that's an issue.
Yeah, another flag could be too is if you're calling if you're a broker and you're calling the number of the driver and they're not answering either. I mean,
That's a red flag.
a red flag to be like, okay, well,
Call, text. If I was a broker, I would even go so far as to do this. I'll call the driver. They're not on the check call, see how far they are. What's your ETA? They don't answer. I leave a voicemail. I'll send a text. I'll call the shipping facility and say, hey, man, once the driver gets, I got a driver coming to your facility in the next day or so. I just need you to verify that it's this person, John Doe, asking for his license, MC number, things like that. If it's not that person, don't load that trailer.
yeah, I've done a lot of recons they're asking for my VIN of the trailer.
Right. VIN, not the VIN of the truck, but the VIN of the trailer.
Yeah, but exactly. They just ask for the VIN. It's like, okay, I mean, I guess that's another way to like really, but are they really going to look at the VIN and all that? Like, I don't know.
But small things like that helps to minimize double brokering. Even something as minute as that. You putting it in the right trailer of carrier one's driver, right? And say, hey, give me what's the VIN number when you're onboarding carriers to your brokerage. Truck and trailer number, VIN numbers of truck and trailers, if they're owner operators, simple stuff, right? To avoid the larger stuff. So, Josh, you got any input?
No, I think this is difficult because shippers are definitely asking about this recently. It's just started popping up in phone calls with us or with me. So
You can
trying to figure out how to attack it on the phone.
You can leverage this with a shipper. Say, hey man, I understand. I'm a broker. I'm trying to get your business. I understand there's a double broking out there that's to a greater extent now. It's becoming like an epidemic in this way. So what I'll do as a broker to help our relationship is I'll verify I'll do extra verification to make sure that the drivers that I send to you are the drivers that I'm supposed to send to you, either through email or even go so far as to call your warehouse managers just to verify that my truck is there, my driver, truck and trailer number to verify to stop the double brokering concept right there. And if they're not that person, then obviously you guys won't load their trailer and you'll give me a call and we'll take it from there as far as the authorities are concerned. So if we can stop the concept of double brokering at the shipping facility, then we both will be well rested at that point. So you can leverage that as an advantage to kind of win shippers, let them know like I'm more involved in the process of trying to eliminate double brokering by putting these systems in place. So when things happen, this is what we do. This is the contingencies.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I think I'm going to use that next week for sure.
Yeah, because now you're giving them reassurances. So not only are you doing as a broker saying, hey, I'm going to have extra insurance on top of my carrier's insurance, like contingent cargo, errors, and omissions, but I'm going to do you one better, Mr. Customer, to win your business. We understand in the industry now that there's a lot of double brokering going on. Well, here's our solution to the problem. And then you tell them, boom, 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 right? What we do when we onboard carriers on our rate confirmations, these are some of our requirements. So when they get to your facility, they need the information at your facility on your BOLs need to match what it was when the carrier signed our rate confirmation and got into an agreement with us. If it does not, then you guys do not load their truck and contact us and we'll deal with it from there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's.
I had a question about insurance. I feel like I ask it every time on the call, but is there any like insurances? I mean, there's probably a bunch, but every time I call, they don't really offer it to new brokers. But I'm working with my carrier side cargo, which is a Great American, but they were offering me like the cargo legal liability and general liability, and then the cargo and E&Os that we needed. But do I need the cargo legal liability?
So cargo like it's just semantics at that. It's just verbiage. Josh is here with Romad Logistics. Joshua, he's a new broker, 6 months in. Joshua, what insurances do you have for your brokerage?
I have errors and emissions and 100,000 contingent cargo, I believe.
Okay, and that's it, right? Outside of
Yep,
your bond,
that's it.
that's it.
Yep.
So that's what
And
I
a bond. I have a bond.
Yeah, you have the $75,000 bond,
Yep.
right? Which is because the purpose of the bond is to protect the carrier in case
Yep.
you, the broker, don't pay or whatever, you breach the contract, whatever, they can file a claim against your bond. But the only extra insurance is basically like what Josh says, and what I usually tell the broker students is errors and omissions in case you make mistake, you cover, and contingent cargo, which is on top of the cargo of the carrier's coverage. They're on top of their 100,000. You got contingent maybe between 100 and 250, right? And then you also too, as a new broker, either sometimes or most times you want to list yourself as a certificate holder on your carrier's insurance, right?
So general liability is because I've had like a couple shippers say they want the general liability, but I don't know if they're saying that because I offer my assets on my trucking side. So maybe they're looking to see my, my certificate on my trucking side with the general liability, but I don't have that either way. I only have auto and cargo on my
So
on my
you may have to do a general liability on your trucking side and then add your brokerage as a certificate holder on your trucking side's insurance.
maybe that's what I gotta do then because they throw that at me. I'm like, and then I'm like going back and forth with my insurance agent. And they're like, weeks to like give me all these quotes, and I'm like, listen, I just want boom, 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 boom. But he's trying to offer me all this other crap, and I'm like, I don't want to sound like I'm such a newbie and be like, oh no, whatever. But like, I mean, if it's gonna cover me in a good way, I don't mind purchasing that. But I really, as a new broker, just need the things that are going to keep my costs to a minimum right now, like
Right.
so because
Me and
the
Josh.
guy that I'm talking to, the shipper that I'm talking to, he has a couple lanes, but I'm trying to confirm with him like, okay, so if I send you all my paperwork, like I think we spoke about this last time, like what lanes you got? So he sent me it. I kind of calculated all of it. They're making sense, but I'm like, am I going to be on your wait list or am I going to move these loads as soon as possible? Because if that's the case, I'm not going to go all out for you. Like, just
And that's
he
another
answered
thing.
me.
That's another thing new brokers. That's another thing new brokers look out for. Some shippers will just add you to an email list, and now you're competing with other brokers, which drives the rates down or drives the tenders down. Right? That's just the law of supply and demand. Right? It just drives the numbers down. So you want to avoid those types of customers. Now, sometimes you can't, and you just gotta. I'll take them every now and then just to get the experience of doing it for the first time. But most of the time, you want to get shippers who do not do that, add you to an email list. Like for example, a perfect example of that is lumber. Lumber shippers will add you to an email list because they move lumber all the time. They're competing. They're just getting brokers all over the place. Like Tampa International down in Tampa, Florida. It's a large lumber company. I can give you shippers. I can give you several lumber shippers you can call if you want to. If you want to go through that headache. But Tampa down in Bob, and I forget the lady's name, down in Florida, they do lumber, right? And then another lady, Southmark Forest Products over in Carolina, Greensboro.
I call her all the time. She don't answer me.
She don't answer the phone. Probably email is better. But
I email her, I call her. I spoken to her twice, and she was like, "Oh, not at the moment. We're not busy, but call back. Blah blah blah." So I call back, and then she don't answer that email. I'm like,
yeah, because she used to send me. I still get emails from her with rates. Full truckload. She'll send me
what?
something. I'm not even brokering lumber. I don't even want to. But because the market is down as far as lumber. I mean, the market is across the board, but lumber. So let me give you an example of what she sends to me in an email, right? And she'll say, and this is a good way to read. This is a good way to read as a new broker. You get shippers that send you jargon and shorthand writing. You'll be able to read and identify and understand what they're trying to say and translate that, right? So she'll say, lumber, and this is in an email. 8-foot drops, 48K, and then she'll have the pickup and pickup information and delivery information. And then she'll have the quote, the rate. Let's say 900. Let's say the pickup and delivery was like a 245-mile distance, okay? And $900, right? So it is, and FB. So flatbed, obviously, right? I think she says either 48/53. She'll have that 48-foot or 53-foot flatbed. So you translate that, right? No tarp. Sometimes you rarely ever tarp lumber, first of all. So, but she had to put that in there. So you get this and you read into that. You say, well, is this a good rate? First of all, you're on an email list. So you're competing with like 50 to 100 other brokers, which is going to drive the numbers down eventually. She threw that out there because it seems high. 900 at 245 directly from a customer is a good cents per mile range, but how much does the market in that lane pay to the driver? Right, that's what you got to look at. So let's say the lane is in somewhere in North Carolina going to somewhere in Alabama or whatever, somewhere 245 miles south in the southeast, right? Because that's where mainly lumber runs, down in the southeast region, right? So that's how you would kind of gauge that. And then how would you, if you even wanted to do that, how would you make that make sense to a driver's perspective? You see,
Like 370 a mile.
370 a mile, so which is well above what they're normally getting paid. So if you're giving the driver 370 a mile and it's 245 miles, let's do the math on that then. 245 miles times 370 a mile.
Oh, that's what that is. It's about 900, 370 a mile.
Oh, that's what that is. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. 900 over 245. You're right. So that's 370 a mile. Let's say you want to get a driver $3 a mile, just to be fair, you know. So if you're trying to get the drive, so that's 267 a mile. If you get a driver $3 a mile at 245 miles, and I'm doing the numbers in the background, 245 times 3, you're giving them 735. So let's say 750. Let's say you want to make 150 profit. Let's say your profit is 150 off of this. You want to make 150 profit. So you're giving them, the driver is getting 750, right? If you take the difference of 150. So now 750 over 245 miles, that's about what? $3 a mile, right? So that's a good rate for a driver to take a $3 load, 245 mile, $3 a mile load, 245 miles of lumber. Now it's 235. We gave them an extra $15, 235 a mile. But granted, now you got to consider it's a full truckload, 48,000 pounds. So it's going to kill you in fuel, right? And it's only going 245 miles, but still, you figure fuel costs, how much of that you're paying in fuel? So, or the driver, I should say. Now the broker, you don't have to figure this out. You're just doing it for analytics purposes, make sure you give the driver a fair rate. So
About $1 a mile.
Right. So you get 6 miles to the gallon per gallon in a tractor trailer, right? Typically, what's the average?
Yeah, that's 6.
About six miles to the gallon. So, and you're driving 245 miles, right? So 245 miles at 6 miles to the gallon is going to tell you how many gallons you're going to need for that, correct? We're just doing simple math at this point, right? 245 divided by 6 is going to tell you how many gallons. You're going to need 41 gallons. It's 40.8, but 41 gallons of diesel fuel to take it 245 miles. Now the question is, in North Carolina, you're going to look at the energy website to see what's the cost of diesel fuel per gallon coming out of the area that they need to pick it up in, right? Let's say it's $4. Let's just say it could be less, it could be more. So if it's $4, that's $160 something right there. 41 gallons at $4 a gallon diesel, $164. So that's what you're paying in diesel. So there go one expense out the door out of that 750.
Yep.
You see? So those are some
it's so expensive.
Right. So those are some of the things you got to consider. As a broker, you don't have to look, you can look at that fuel cost indirectly, but some drivers are going to tell you what their cost is, their overhead is. Like, look, man, I got to pay so much for fuel. You're giving me $750 Can I get a little extra on that? Can I get 800 or whatever, extra $50? That'll help them a little bit, right? If you give them 800, then you're gonna make $100 profit off of that. Is it even worth it? Unless there's a lot of volume loads. If she's giving you 20 loads a month or 20 loads a week of lumber, you know, Josh was shaking his head like, nah, I don't think it's even worth. It's not even worth the time.
Maybe it's a maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. That driver, if I give that driver an extra $50 on this, that might get me in his good graces. He may bail me out of a problem in the future just because of that.
Correct. And that's called relationships. You're building relationships now. Communication, relationships. Now that has more value in this business than just about anything. Right? You may take a loss on one load, but then you make it up on the other loads downstream because now the driver sees that you helped them out. They feel they got to return the favor. Right? So that's how it is sometimes. So, but any questions, guys? I know I've been talking to death, but any questions? Our main thing is about double brokering. Kind of recognize it. Follow the paper trail when it comes to double brokering. Make sure who's on the paperwork on the Raycon starting off, and then on the shipper at the BOL, and then on the POD at the receiver when it's offloaded. Even if it gets past that point, put systems in place for your brokerage to protect yourself from double brokering. You know, from something as simple as IDing the driver, right? The same driver that arrived at the shipper because that's where it starts. Once you give the carrier number one the load, and they decide to give it to carrier number two, that's once the carrier number two gets to the shipper, it can stop right there because now you're identifying the driver at the shipper. It's a carrier two driver, not a carrier one driver. Okay, we're not moving any further from this point because you're not the right driver. You're not even the right trucking company. You see? So it should stop where? At the consignor, the shipper. That's where ideally double brokering should stop, at the shipper. Because it started once you brokered that load to the carrier one that you were contracted with, and they decided to give it to carrier two. Carrier two is the one who drives to the shipper to try to pick that load up. So this is where it needs to stop, right there. And you, as a broker, just got to put systems in place on your rate cons, and then make sure that data is transferable to the BOL at the shipper, right? If it's fortunate enough to get past the shipper, then make sure at the receiver, it gets double checked again at the receiver before the POD is issued, because payment is going to be attempted to be issued to the wrong carrier. Once it gets to this stage, right? So follow the documents, follow the paperwork. That is my advice to you guys. Follow the paperwork. Make sure everything matches. You know. Now, what happens? Here's a question. What happens if you discover that one of your carriers has double brokered your load? Let's say you found out carrier one double brokered it to carrier two. What do you do as a broker? What is your responsibility? What is your job? What do you think?
Get a hold of the shipper.
Okay.
Get a hold of the shipper, let them know what happened, and then try to take care of it.
So let's say you found out at this point where you gave the rate confirmation to carrier one, and he gave it to carrier two, and carrier two's on the way to the shipper. What do you do at this stage?
At this stage, stop that carrier from getting to the shipper.
Okay. And then what do you do at this stage? If the carriers two got to the shipper, they were fortunate enough to get loaded, and then they're on their way to the receiver. What do you do at that? So it depends on what stage you found out where double brokering happened. It was given a carrier two is what, determine what you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, down here, I'd get a hold of the receiving side of it and let them know this is coming.
Reject that. Either say get there, reject that load, tell them we're not accepting that, carry your ass, turn around, and get out of here. So, and then work your way back upstream, right?
Yeah. Try to get another one.
Yeah, and then why shipper? how were you fortunate enough to make that mistake of loading a carrier they're not even an approved carrier under my brokerage? How did they trick you? So you should have had something in place to verify it was one of my carriers.
Yeah, I was testing you.
Right. I should get more money. You should give me more money on future load tenders now. Yep. So that's on you, Mr. Shipper.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so these are just things as brokers we need to, if we're going to be doing this brokering, we want to cover ourselves. We want to protect ourselves, and make sure things are in place. Was this information helpful? Was it good?
Absolutely.
Okay. Any questions?
When's the next one?
So you were a guest, Joshua, and you part of the e-carrier check team. We usually have, let me show you, and we usually network with other brokers, and we, especially newer brokers, to kind of help each other. You're 6 months in, so you can pretty much, all the newer brokers in here now, you can pretty much put them onto the learning curve, what, some of the pitfalls you ran across and how to avoid them kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
You got your authority and everything. On our website. Now, you're not a student, so you don't have access to the website, but I'll show you the calendar on our broker side when we have live Zoom calls, and these are recorded and they're stored in our portal for our students who have access. But every second and fourth week of each month, this is the fourth week of the month of June, we have them on Tuesdays and Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern. Okay. So after today, I'm going to put July's calendar up for the second and fourth weeks, Tuesdays and Fridays at 6 p.m. And then you can go to this website. You have access to look at the calendar. You just won't have access the back office portal, right? Because you came in, the same way you came in, it's the same credentials. It's going to always be the same login credentials, okay? And you just go to the calendar and see the schedule and say, okay, I'll be there. But this right here, you won't have access to. Matter of fact, you probably don't even, well, I guess you would only need access to this maybe for our exams and stuff, but for our resources, and all the tools we have back here to help brokers along their path, so we got a host of tools. I got so much stuff back here, I forgot. So, but it's here, and I'm having my wife go through it, and so we can update stuff. I'm sure you're familiar with some of the lookups like Leonard's, Webster's Online, McRae's Blue Book, Thomas Net, Hunter IO, Industry Net, National Chamber of Commerce directory where you look up shippers, things like that. UShip is actually good for finding shippers.
Really?
Believe it or not. The specialty crops, the USDA, get into the agriculture markets because everything.
I've been looking at that specific thing for soybeans in the state of Tennessee right now.
There you go. So find out in your state what commodities move the most in your state. You got a lot of farmland out there. That's in the Midwest, right? That's a lot of land.
Yeah.
Farmland. So, you say soybeans, right? So there you go. And they're gonna look at Jared. Look at Jared's.
There you go.
His ugly mug up there. You can't check. But yeah, we got the fuel prices, truck miles. I mean, we got all types of resources here. You click on these, you can get to them. Transport.
Do you know if there's any? Sorry, do you know if there's any load boards for cargo vans besides
Cargo
the back?
Cargo vans and sprinter vans, box trucks, things like that. Load boards, Selectus and My Virtual Fleet.
Okay.
Selectus is kind of a stringent one. It has these requirements. You got to have the authority for so long. You got to have so many assets under like 5 trucks already. You got to be active for at least a year or so. So they're kind of selective. My Virtual Fleet is an offshoot of Selectus, where Samuel Munitz, who's the owner of the software, he'll try to set up a Zoom demo for you to try to get you to purchase the product. Both of those load boards, you have to bid on the load. You have to bid on them. Sam's My Virtual Fleet he'll ask you, what's your zip code? And he'll tell him, and then he'll put it in the search criteria, kind of like what we did earlier, Josh, with LinkedIn Sales Navigator. He'll filter out based off of zip code, and it'll pop up with all these different hits of loads for sprinter vans, cargo vans, box trucks, depending on what you put in your search criteria. and then and then you got to bid on the particular loads. And he has a bidding matrix that he wants you to follow. And if you deviate from that, he'll kick you out for so many days and then bring you back, all this other crap. So those are the two load boards that are known out here, Tasha.
Okay.
So you're looking at the cargo van, sprinter vans, huh?
Well, I've had a little downfall with my husband's CDL.
Okay.
So I don't know if he's gonna ever get it back. And luckily I have two company drivers. That's a blessing.
Yes.
But I think for box trucks, you don't need CDL, is that correct? And I know cargo vans, you don't need it. Just a regular license.
Certain GVWR for box trucks, non-CDL like 10,000 in the box or less. The gross vehicle weight is 26,000 or 25,999 or less, 26,001. GVWR, box truck, to run. So you still have to have an authority to run it though.
Oh yeah, we still have the authority. Yeah,
You can't move a commercial freight without an authority, whether you have a CDL or not. But you got to have an authority, right? So, but yeah. So
yeah, we still have the authority.
Okay, and then with I hate to say this word, but Amazon.
I know.
Amazon.
My husband's like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, well, when Amazon first started, they were great. But now they've got this performance matrix. They penalize people for not doing certain things. It's just like almost being like an indentured servant. But
your MC authority, do you have to have a valid CDL to keep it active?
That's a great question. If I was a betting man, I'd say no. Because what if you do non-CDL type of work, but you still need an authority to move the commercial goods?
Right.
Yeah.
You see, so you can throw all types of scenarios to help with that, to answer that kind of question though, right?
Yeah, so like I've kind of fallen off on the brokerage, honestly, because I've just been so busy with managing the trucking company with 2 trucks and scheduling and payroll, and I've been just emailing shippers as I go because that's just easier for me as I'm at my desk. But I'm also waiting for my insurance guy to call me or email me and tell me what's the deal with my quotes, because he's like not very clear on like what it is, what I'm like, I just want to know what my down payment's going to be, what is my annual premium, and what am I paying monthly. Like I don't need all this extra.
Right. You ask simple questions, you get complicated answers, right? So
right. And then he's like, oh, I'm out of the office for like 2 weeks. Like, okay, well, right. But so I really got to start getting my butt on the brokerage again, because I was doing really good when I first started out. I was making like calls all day long. I was working for a good like 6 hours. But I mean, as I go along through my day, I'm emailing, and I'm also moving my in-laws to my house. So my house is going to be super crowded.
So Josh, what is your work day like? Let's give Tasha
Crazy.
let's give Tasha a baseline to go off of as far as contacting shippers. What's your workflow?
So I get on the phones around 6:30. I try to catch shipping managers in there by themselves, checking their emails early before everything's going on. And I know it's 6:30, it's 7:30 on the East Coast. So I call from then till about 9-10 o'clock. Then I get into eCarrier, put my notes in for everything that I did that morning on my calls. And from there, if I didn't get any hits, I'll go into researching and game planning for my afternoon calls or email campaigns, whatever it may be for the day. And I go into that. And then about 4:30, 5 o'clock, my kids are about ready to explode right now because they don't have school. And that's when I kind of hang it up, about 4:30, 5 o'clock each day.
So multitasking. So being a parent and brokering. So that's a workflow right there. Oh, by the way, Matt, you're a diesel. You still do diesel stuff too? Diesel mechanic?
On the side, yeah, to make some money right now.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's the thing with me too. I got 2 kids that are on school, a 2-year-old, so it's like
I got 2 teenage
I'm
boys.
doing it. I'm not giving up. I'm sticking to my guns because I put a lot of money into it. And you know.
I was going to ask
But-
Josh, do you mind if I, pick your brain every now and then about the diesel engines, the different ones, the what's it, Cummins, Detroit, recommendations for different types of trucks and the engines and the transmissions and things like that?
Yeah, no problem. I'm a little biased because I'm a Mac guy, but I definitely give you what I think.
So top three, what would you rate the top three from best to worst as far as the engine types or the
So
engine?
I think Cummins is best,
Okay.
and I'm just a Cummins guy. I grew up, my family's been truck drivers my whole life, so I've been around trucks since I was a baby. We always loved Cummins. That's what I think the best is. Next, you can go with either your Caterpillars or your Mac MP8s, and then from there, I mean, you're kind of flipping a coin with like your PACCARs, your Detroits, your
Yeah, I've been hearing like
international.
I've been hearing like DD13s and DD15s are like terrible, but
Well, they the old saying for Detroit's back in the 90s and early 2000s was if it's not leaking, it's not running properly. So I have seen some pretty old trucks with some old Detroits in them with the D60s, the 60 series, and the DD15s that really shouldn't be on the road, but the engines are still going. So I can't really knock them. They last. All these engines will pretty much last if they do the maintenance properly on them.
Yeah.
okay. So I'll tell you what, I'll barter with you. I'll let you come into every time we have the trainings and even give you access back here. If every now and then we can reach out to you as a resource, and I'll put a button back here in our portal. You'll be our recommended diesel mechanic for advice and things like that. You cool with
Not a
that?
problem. Not a problem.
Okay.
That's
So we'll send me your information, your email number, and I'll go ahead and add you as a resource. So under tools, docs, and resources, I'll put Josh's information, our diesel, our mechanic person. So if we ever have like we're brokering for carriers, oh man, man, you got any recommendations for trucks or engines or any repairs? Oh, okay. Click Josh's button. Let's reach out to Josh and see what information he may have. Now,
Absolutely.
some of that we may have to because if it gets too crazy, we may have to like charge the driver for this information too. Because look, you're not gonna be giving free information every 5 minutes because people are gonna be blowing your phone up. So so I want to make sure that you're it's a balance there.
Absolutely. I'd be more than happy to do. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. So you've been doing this since a baby. You had little Tonka trucks, using Tonka trucks and all that stuff, right? So
Man, I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, and my family, my grandfather had 9 brothers, and every single one of them drove trucks. My dad drove trucks. So I remember being 3 and 4 years old underneath trucks, working on trucks with all of them. And that's how it started for me.
yeah. So it's all about networking, and we'll go from there. I'll let Josh, not Josh, but Jared and Nate, know what we're doing. Jared, I talk to him all the time, so it's cool. But okay, so we just created another connection there. That's good. And you seem like a sensible guy. You got your brokerage up and running, 6 months in. You got a workflow. People can probably ask you questions about your workflow because we're a network. We like to help each other. That's the whole point of this network. I like to help.
Do you have a shipper yet?
Say it again.
Do you have a shipper yet?
You got a shipper yet?
I do not.
I don't either.
It's hard right now, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I just kind of stuck on how do I approach the phone call. I usually introduce myself and then let them know, like, sometimes if I've done the load, like usually I call the shippers or the customers that are on the BOL that I have from like my drivers and let them know that I already did a run for them. I have my own assets. How can I help? Blah, blah. But like some of them are like, oh, hell yeah, like send me information over and, blah, blah, blah. And then some people are just like, no, we're good. So
Yeah.
kind of been
So
the back and forth.
I don't know if you were in here at the beginning. I have one this week that I've been working with for like 3 weeks, and I sent bids in, and I got a hold of her this week, and she said, you're $125 cheaper than our current providers. But I called my current provider and he decided to match it. So we're not going to go with you.
that sucks.
Oh.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
That sucks. You feel like reaching your hand through the phone and choking them. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, I have one shipper that I could hook up with, but he's out of Quebec, but his lanes are in United States, but he's only like giving it to me for like 650. And I went online and looked at the lane and it's going for 650. And I'm like, I'm not making anything off of that. Like, unless I do it for 450. But who really wants to run for that? Like,
And what kind of truck are you getting for 450?
flatbed.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Like if the load's going for 650, what type of driver are you getting for $450? The person that accepts that.
No,
Yeah,
not very many.
lumber.
Not very many.
Yeah.
Josh, type
Right.
your phone number to me privately in the chat.
Okay.
I sent you a private note there directly. So just
We
respond.
just reply to that.
Yeah, just reply to that, please. So yeah, so we're here to help each other. So here's a clue for you guys. If you get a shipper that says, just send me your information and I'll add you, those are the ones that are just going to add you to an email list and
Right.
keep it moving. If you get a shipper that's going to ask you for quotes and bids and to do extra homework, those are the ones that you want to target more so than the previous ones. Because
Yeah, I got excited one day because a shipper accepted all my information and they were like, oh, now you're ready to quote the lanes, blah, blah. So they send out like lanes, whoever they're like set up with, to, quote it on. But they're all partials. And like, I look on the DAT board, they're not paying anything. So I'm like, I don't even bother. But sometimes initially I was doing it because I was like, I'll just get my rate on there, get my company on there, but it's like,
now, so
I don't know.
the difference between partials and the LTLs, you can make money in LTLs. You just got to understand how that works. Partials are a little bit different, but LTLs, less than truckloads. Yeah. And what I'll do is I'll bring, once Mr. Nelson gets back, I think he's in Africa right now. Once he gets back, he did LTLs for a number of years, over 20 years. So he has the whole breakdown of how that works and how to position carriers to run LTLs and put multiple shipments on the trucks going in the same directions and then offloading those shipments. So you may have, so a tractor trailer can put about the standard pallets, 26 pallets, right? 48 by 40s on the trailers, right? Like drive-in, flatbeds, reefers. You may have 3 shipments, 4 shipments. Each shipment may be paying, let's say, $2,000 or $3,000, depending on where it's going. That's 4 shipments. That's 12 grand. LTL, right? Because now you got stackability. You can stack them up, brace them in, things like that, depending on the type of commodity. So there's a whole lot of variables involved in LTL that can make money for you. That's an industry that you would probably want to look into, at least just get some information about it. And I can get with Mr. Nelson with that as well. Right now, we're just doing standard truckload shippers, or we're looking for shippers who have standard truckloads, right? Regular rates, maybe competitive rates, spot market rates. Well, we're going to make them a spot market after we break down the tenders and take our percentage out, right? Take our margin, our percentage profit margin, and then go from there. Post them on load boards, have our carrier network. So the best thing for you guys as brokers to remember is you have to find a balance in this. You want to make decent money for yourself, specifically if you have volume loads from shippers, and then you want to pay the carrier a fair wage in order to motivate them to keep moving freight for you. So now you have to find that balance there. That is the challenge. Now, I have a shipper that I'm dealing with I'm in Virginia, the Hampton Roads area, Norfolk. We got a lot of military bases and ports over here. I'm dealing with Cox Communications, which is the largest telecommunications company in the Northeast of the area. Well, I take that back. Second only to Verizon, Cox Communications. And he is having an issue with a broker, and I may step in and take this as an opportunity for paying freight. But he has an issue with a broker his trucks are always late picking up stuff and always late delivering. So with brokers, you want to make sure to impress your customers that your carriers practice OTD or OTP and OTD, on time pickup, on time delivery, right? That's just standard. Your carrier should always pick up on time and always deliver on time. unless there's a reason why they can't pick up on time and deliver on time, traffic, blowouts, whatever, right? So he has these large telecommunication fiber optic coils loaded on flatbed trailers going from Virginia up to Rhode Island, delivering something, and then down to Miami, Florida, paying $5,000. Exactly. I saw your facial expression, Josh.
Yeah.
So
Going to Florida,
Miami,
Miami.
and then coming back. So that's a heck of a round trip. So from Norfolk to Rhode Island is not that long. It's about 7, 8 hours, right? So he drops off like a coil up there, or one or two, because it's 4 on the trailer. So I think either 2 goes up to Rhode Island and the other 2 down to Miami, and then he comes back to Virginia. But up and back, I don't know if $5,000 is enough, because going up to Rhode Island from Norfolk, 7 to 8 hours, that's about 400 miles, maybe a little bit more, maybe 500, and then down to Miami. Ouch, right? There's where a lot of
hours.
That's a lot of miles. So I'm thinking 7, 8.
Yeah.
Make it a little bit more from if the shipper gives it to me, the broker, for 7, 8, then I can give a lot of that to the carrier to motivate them to do that. So let's say I'm getting it for 7, 8, let's say 7,500. I'll give the driver, I don't know, what, 7?
Yeah.
I'll take 500 profit off of that. All I'm doing is sitting in the office pushing paperwork.
Yeah.
For $500, I'll give you 7,000 to go up to Rhode Island, drop off 2 coils, fiber optic coils, so they can run cables up there, and then go drive down to Miami, and then drop off the other 2 down to Miami. You can do your reset down to Miami on the beach, and then deadhead back to Virginia. What driver in there?
Or pick something up out of Georgia.
Or pick something up out of Tifton. Yeah, Georgia. There's a bunch of there's Tifton, a bunch of distributions down there in Tifton. As soon as you got north of Tallahassee, or not north of Tallahassee, north of Jacksonville. As soon as you come out of Florida, you're hitting one of the major cities right there, Tifton, with a lot of DCs right there. So
yeah, I just had my trucks there this week.
yeah, so if I was the driver, I'd be in Miami, drop off. I say, hey man, I'm gonna do my reset down here, chill on the beach for a minute, and then come back up, right? And as a broker, I may try to, that's another thing. I'm glad you said that, Josh. I may try to maximize the driver and get some more income by finding them a load coming up. Get a shipper down there in the area and having profit coming back to Virginia to start that process over again.
Yeah. And it may not even be but like a $600-700 load out of Georgia, but at least it kind of offsets the cost of driving up from Florida.
And the fuel, right? So it helps the fuel, and it gets you back to your money lane.
Yep.
You see? So those are some of the things you have to think of as a broker too. You want to maximize your drive. You don't want to have them, you want to have alleviate as much deadhead as possible, backhauls and reloads. You want to give them on the main line haul and make money on the backhauls too, the reloads.
Yep.
You know? So Josh, you're getting all this game today, man. You got on this free game, Josh.
Man, I love it. I love it. I appreciate it so much.
Yep. Yes, sir. All right, guys, I'm gonna get off here, man. I'm trying to keep we normally be on here for like 2 hours or less, right? We don't try to, because the attention span of humans is just a natural order of things. It's just nature. And then plus it's Friday, it's the summer, and it's daylight. I'm sure people will like, okay, let me get some sun before it gets dark. But I could be reached. I'll reach out to you, Josh. We'll decide how we want to work that, and then put you on, go from there. All right.
Sounds good. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a good night.
All right, guys. I'll have the July calendar up here later tonight after I format the video here. And then Josh, I'll email Josh. I think he got off for it, but I'll email him a copy of this. Okay?